But the data from border authorities in the US clearly shows that our border, when it comes to fentanyl, it's a fraction of the seizures that are happening overall at both borders. The way that you've communicated around it seems to accept the characterization of the US, which is not based in fact.
Oh my gosh, just the look on Danielle Smith's face. If she could literally reach through the screen and go, I think she would. Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. There's been so much talk this week about the border and Trump and border control and fentanyl. And again, I'm just bewildered watching all the TDS from the anchors still. You're still like this. You still don't get it. You still don't see the point of all this. I'm going to get back to Vassy and Danielle Smith a little bit later, but I wanted to just share a couple of my thoughts about all this. Because Trump has brought this up, he's basically saying, clean up your border. There's too much fentanyl coming in and out of our country, but also getting into the US. Clean your shit up, and then we'll talk. If you don't, there's tariffs. I kind of like the way he operates, and I agree that this is something that needs to be looked at. And he had to bitch slap us so hard with tariffs that Justin Trudeau went running down there and came to this agreement. Okay, so now there's an agreement between Trump and Trudeau. The agreement between the two leaders entails Canada appointing a fentanyl czar and designating drug cartels as terrorist organizations, and as well as committing 200 million Canadian for intelligence operations to combat fentanyl. These are all good ideas. And why were you not doing this before? Did you not happen to notice that our country was going down the toilet and drug use was rampant and that people were dying left, right, and center? You don't even have to be involved in the drug world. I'm not. And I know people that have died from fentanyl, like people that were just doing recreational drugs. And I'll talk more about that later in the video. But it took an ultimate bitch slapping for you to notice that there was a problem. And the thing that got me frustrated was all the premiers stood up, most of them, other than Danielle Smith, and did stupid things. Like Doug Ford, you're not going to bully us. And we don't want your Starlink. And Elon Musk finds this laughable because he tweeted back at Doug Ford, oh, well. And all the things that the various premiers have done, Wab Kinew, David Eby, and Doug Ford, pulling the liquor off the shelf and banning people from selling American liquor that has already been bought and paid for by Canadians. How does this help Canadians? You sit there and say to the surface, to the camera, oh, we're not going to stand for this and we're going to stand up. But by taking away Starlink or not doing that deal, like, who do you help? So all the people in rural communities who need better internet access won't have that. So all the people who have bought and paid for the liquor can't sell that. How does that help the economy? You literally look to the camera and say the most idiotic things. David Eby, Wab Kinew, Doug Ford. Thing is, this got me thinking a lot about drugs and fentanyl. Like, how does it, this is really not something I know that much about either, but how the hell does it all get in here in the first place? Fentanyl and trafficking and drug trafficking, this is not a world I have any expertise in, but it comes in obviously through trucks, right? Through trucks, right? Because my partner was a truck driver, and so he would pick up a load and it would, take the load to the Dollar Tree or Canadian Tire, or, there's different truckers that work for Walmart. I mean, you open up a truck, those semi trucks, and you see all the cargo and all the stuff in there. It's like, you're going to find a needle in a haystack. Like, the way these guys hide little bits of drugs, it's impossible to find, right? And not only is the land border and the truck drivers, is it getting in that way? I saw this article from Kim Boland from 2015, and she's talking about organized crime and the port. So, the shipyards, the longshoremen. She mentioned in the article that more than 24 of the longshoremen unloading container ships on the docks of Metro Vancouver are Hell's Angels and their associates, or other gangsters or people connected with serious criminal records. This is what their investigation with the Vancouver Sun found. This is in 2015, and this was like a lot of cocaine and stuff like that. Whatever other drugs they had. This is, I think, pre-fentanyl, pre the drug that's going to like kill you. Maybe you know or don't know, but in the daytime I work in a medical clinic, and I work with the public, so I get a good sort of overview on people. Like I think I get a very good snapshot of people, and I generally tend to drop little bits of information out and see what people are thinking or feeling about a lot of things. That's how I kind of gauge a lot of what's going on in society and where people's brains are at. At my work, one of our patients is an RCMP officer. We have a couple of them come in, and one guy I'm like friendly with, and I was talking about the Trump and the border and the fentanyl. I'm like, it's okay. Well, like, talk to me about this. And he said, at the border crossings, all across Canada, they just don't have enough staff. Like CBSA just doesn't have enough staff. And it is, like I was saying, it is impossible to find small bits of drugs because you don't need much. And it comes in like on the daily, multiple times a day. And they have such, they're so low on staff to check. There's like maybe 5 people on a shift that's going to check numerous semi trucks. It just doesn't add up. It's almost undetectable, and it's so easy to get through. And the other thing the RCMP officer was telling me is you almost want to traffic through Canada because our rules are so lax that if you even get busted here, your jail time will be nothing, or you'll be catch and release, or depending on how severe it was, like the punishment never really fits the crime. And so Canada is the place where you want to do the crime. If you get busted in the US, the punishment is much more severe. They literally throw the book at you. You go to jail for a really long time. They really crack down and are really harsh with these things. So I found that interesting. Then I mentioned to him about the ports and what I was reading about the Hells Angels and the longshoremen and the drugs coming through there on container ships. And he said, yes, if you look into that, you'll be blown away by how bad that is. And again, there's not enough people checking. It's so easy to get it through. And the longshoremen themselves are like, the thing has been infiltrated. And also at my work, we have a longshoreman. Like, I'm friends with this guy. And so I was asking him, I'm basically like interviewing people there at work, but they don't know what I do, like outside of work. And I'm like, well, you're a longshoreman. Like, what's going on there? And he agreed. He goes, yeah, that is what's happening down there. They're infiltrated. It's so, you're never going to catch it. It's so easy for it to get through. And he told me that they do have a thing, how like when you walk through the airport and you walk through the scanner and it scans your body, they actually have one where you could put a container, I think he said, like on a truck and drive it through this scanner that will scan for drugs. But how are you going to do that with all the containers? He's like, even that, I said, does it work? And he goes, yeah, it kind of works, but like, you don't have enough of it. There's not enough to check everything. And then he told me that and I said, what's with the fentanyl? Like, why are they making a drug that will kill the customer? This I don't understand. And he goes, yeah, I don't understand it either. And his brother, this longshoreman's brother, died of a fentanyl overdose. He was doing cocaine, thought it was cocaine. I don't know if, I don't know. And then whatever he was taking killed him. And like I said off the top, like, I'm not a druggie or in the druggie world. I don't know much about drugs, but yet I know people that have died from a drug overdose. I worked with a director at Global News. He was in his mid-30s. He was married, very tall, strapping guy, very fit, worked out all the time, really muscular. Like, he's one of those people you'd be like, strong as an ox, like fit big guy. And you think, what is going to take him out? Like, what is available on the street that could take him out? But he was literally doing something. I don't know if it was cocaine or whatever recreational drug he was taking, whether it was MDMA or what, I don't know, but he died. and his wife tried to revive him and everything. And then actually the guy, my boss that actually ended up firing me many years later, he called me to say, I just want to let you know when you come in, before you come into work, that, you know, so and so has died. And he told me how. And I'm like, what the hell? And he's not the only one that died at Global. There is an on-air personality whose young son died from fentanyl, because I guess he was just doing some drugs or something like you might do. And I don't think he was more than 24 years old. And that's an absolute fucking tragedy. And another thing, I was watching some podcast and this guy was saying he had a family friend. They had a little daughter. He's seen the daughter grow up, go to kindergarten, go to, you know, elementary school, middle school, go off to college. She went to a party. She was a good girl. And I think she just tried something and she died from fentanyl. So don't sit there and argue with me that Trump is on our ass for nothing. And that brings me to Vassy Kapelos. You know, and so don't sit there and argue about any of this. This is literally killing people. And why are they killing people? Like, why are they making a drug, they say, that comes from China? Obviously, we have drug labs here in Falkland and wherever else we have them all through Canada. You're making a substance that is literally killing people. So why are you doing this? Why are you killing your customer? This doesn't make any sense. You want to have repeat customers. You don't want to kill your customers. You'll be out of business. And I was saying this to my friend who used to work at the CBC. I was talking about fentanyl and what is this? And he goes, maybe this is just a story they're telling us. Maybe this is just a narrative that they tell us, that this comes from China. It obviously comes from here too. And they know it's killing people. They're concocting it in a way for it to be absolutely lethal, where like a grain of sand type of thing will kill strapping young lads, you know, kill it. You'd friggin' take down an elephant. So you think that is a mistake? So maybe this is, did you ever stop and think that this is something designed to kill us? They seem to be wanting to kill us with other things. What's stopping them from just being like, yeah, this is part of the plan. This is how it goes. Now, I've also talked to opposing people. I have friends that say, well, no, they're not trying to kill you. They're not doing it on purpose. They just don't know chemistry and they're messing it up. Like how they needed Walter White in Breaking Bad to be the chemist to put the drugs together so that they put it together so it doesn't kill you or something. I'm like, yeah, maybe, but I don't think there's any mistakes being made at all. I think that they know. I mean, is it a mistake? Do you guys think that they're concocting this by error and killing people? Or do you think it's deliberate that they're killing people? Because they're killing people. And these stupid anchors, you know, like all the right-wing podcasters sort of, you know, get these big hard-ons for Vassy Kapelos, because Vassy Kapelos is the only person that kind of socks it to them. She's on fucking network news, right? So she's going to book all the politicians. Politicians aren't really going to get booked on other shows. I mean, maybe that'll change now. I mean, I should be interviewing politicians. I'm sure they would talk to me. But, you know, she's on CTV, the very network that will put out polls and say, oh, Canadians think that Mark Carney should stand up to Trump. And they pick him over Pierre Poilievre, Chrystia Freeland, and Karina Gould. The fuck they do. No, they don't. Put Pierre in there. Canadians have confidence in Pierre. Yet Vassy works for a station that will put out that absolute, complete, made up propaganda. Are you calling that shit out? I don't know if she is. And where was this woman during COVID? I didn't see this woman speak up. You know, we needed somebody to speak up against the lockdowns and forced injections, masking children, the fact that nobody really died in 2020 and everybody started dying at the tail end of 2021. Where is she talking big about that? I don't hear her standing up for any of that. You know, big deal. She can take the politicians to task, and we do appreciate that. We do appreciate her strong voice. But if you're going to have a strong voice, you better have a strong voice on all fronts. And she was really messing up the LGBTQ stuff when she interviewed Danielle Smith. I thought she really missed the mark in a previous interview, and she missed the mark here with the fentanyl.
And not to take away anything from, obviously, the poisonous supply and the impact it's had on both Canadians and Americans' lives. But the data from border authorities in the US clearly shows that our border, when it comes to fentanyl, it's a fraction of the seizures that are happening overall at both borders. Were you making those points when you're talking about the border? Because the way that you've communicated around it seems to accept the characterization of the U.S., which is not based in fact.
Oh my God, you just gave her a U.S. fact. You just pulled a fact from the U.S. and now you're asking her, you're going with the U.S. characterization. Make your mind up, woman. But I love Danielle's answer here. And no matter what it is, it matters. You can't sit there and go, oh, I only stole $50. I didn't steal 50,000. So it's really just a small number. So it doesn't matter. Come on, man.
Well, it's not helpful to tell the Americans, well, we've only provided you a supply that would kill 9.5 million Americans. That's not a persuasive argument. And I think we should stop using it. I think we need to understand Canada's problem is different. Canada had a big problem with TD Bank acting as a money launderer. They got a $3 billion fine. We've had our casinos in British Columbia act as money laundering. We have the issue of not actually examining containers when they come in on our ports. We don't examine every car that comes across the border. We have cars being stolen and stuffed with drugs and sent outside of Montreal ports. We've got packages coming across the border through Amazon that go unchecked. So just because we haven't found it, as we don't have the processes in place to be able to find it, maybe that's what the Americans are raising. And now we have an opportunity to address that because our people are dying too. And we shouldn't be complacent about that. We should want to work with them in our own interest to be able to stamp out the cartels as well.
Yeah. Fair answer. Excellent answer. And she's very calm and very measured. And now what's going to happen? Is she going to double down here, Vassy, or dig a hole?
And I certainly don't think anyone's advocating for complacency. I think something you and other premiers have said, like there's nothing wrong with addressing the fentanyl issue. But and I take your point about not saying, well, only X amount of people are dying, but that takes away completely from the factual basis. Like he wants to punish us in the same way he's punishing Mexico, predicated on some sort of pretext around the border.
No. It's not punishing, Miss Kapelos. Get your shit together. It's addressing a very severe problem and it is bitch slapping a country into addressing the problem that we've been choosing to ignore for many years.
When it doesn't exist in the same way, why don't you want to make that argument at all?
He wants us to recognize that Canada enjoys a very special relationship with the U.S. that no other country in the world enjoys, and just show the respect of taking seriously the fact that they've got people dying and they want it to stop. That's it. We should stop making excuses, stop saying, yeah, but we're not as bad as the other guys. We should just say, yes, we agree. And we're going to take care of our part of the issue so you don't have to worry about us anymore. That things are going in the wrong direction. We've got to reverse that. So I would say no excuses. Let's just work on that. And then hopefully 30 days from now, we'll have made enough progress that we can move on to some of the other issues.
Why are presenting facts, though, excuses? Like the way you're describing
it. This is where you're just digging in for nothing and you are digging a hole. You don't understand the severity. You are detached from the severity. Look at Danielle Smith's face. God.
It's just accept the way President Trump characterizes things and kind of roll over. I'm not sure Canadians would be comfortable with that.
Well, I'm not comfortable with the fact that over 1,000 people per year die in my province from fentanyl. I'm not comfortable with the fact that cartels are operating in my province. I'm not comfortable with the fact that I'm having to shut down super labs and drug houses. I'm not comfortable with that either. And so I'm not going to downplay the serious tragedy and loss of life in my province because of the Mexican cartels and this poisonous drug that has caused the addiction. So I see it a bit differently, I think, from you, Vassy. I think it's just as serious an issue for me in my province as it is for the Americans in their country, and that we've got to crack down on it, and this is our opportunity.
So you don't see any value in, and I'm not saying dismissive.
Okay, this is where I just have to turn her off. Like, just that's enough. Enough is enough. You see what I'm saying? This is complete derangement syndrome. This is, Vassy should be like, you know what? I applaud your efforts into making change. You're right. We do need to see some changes. It is affecting people, regular, everyday people. And this is a plague. This drug is like a weapon. And I know that John Rustad has also been getting criticism because he's criticized Bonnie Henry. And now a report has come out outlying that David Eby and all them knew all along anyway. Conservative MLA for Surrey Cloverdale, Eleanor Sturco, has exposed the NDP's failure in BC's Safe Supply program intended to combat the opioid crisis, but instead fueling the chaos. Leak health documents reveal over 60 healthcare professionals diverting taxpayer-funded drugs with prescriptions exploding, and they give a bunch of numbers, exploding from 500,000 in 2020 to over 20 million by 2024 under the BC NDP's watch. Do you think it's time to end this safe supply experiment? Yes, I do. And you can blame this chicklet for this. How does this woman even walk around in public after all the lies she's told? Lying, completely lying. And if she had the guts to sit down with any reputable doctor and actually have them take her to task, she would fail so miserably. Here's a story from an American station, KPIX in the Bay Area, California.
It is a city that has quite famously been hit hard by the opioid crisis. And like San Francisco, fentanyl drove a surge in overdose numbers. British Columbia responded by pioneering a number of progressive drug policies like safe use sites and so-called safe supply for users. But now the government is signaling a significant change of course. Wilson Walker has an update on BC's sudden move towards expanded involuntary care.
Involuntary.
As the drugs change, we've seen these impacts get more and more severe. And our response needs to evolve as well.
That is David Eby, Premier of British Columbia, announcing a new plan to open what he calls highly secure involuntary care facilities for those with severe drug and mental health issues. And it is a significant change of course.
So you allow this to become pervasive in society. You support safe supply and diversion, which then these drugs get back on the street. There is now an addiction problem so immense that it's just become a commonplace thing that almost is getting accepted. Oh yeah, he died, she died. Oh, fentanyl. Oh, what are you gonna do? You know, it's like that rather than looking at how severe it is. And this sort of involuntary jail, I don't know. You could debate whether that's a good idea or not a good idea. I'm not too sure. I have to hold off on that one. I haven't given that one enough thought. You know, this isn't a seizure that Canadians have seized, like all these drugs. This is an immense amount of drugs. The Americans do have to take responsibility for their own border, right? If the drugs are getting in on the U.S. side, that's really up to U.S. Border Patrol. Like, we need to step it up too, right? But there is a valid point to be made that if drugs are getting into the States, that's really on U.S. Border Patrol to step it up also. We need to step it up, but also, you know, that point, we cannot ignore that point. It's U.S. Border Patrol that has to have their checks and balances also. Canada now has 90% of terrorist imports. 90% of illegals on terror watch lists are now coming through Canada. Trump was right to hold Trudeau accountable. Yeah, you know, there's no denying that this is a total mess. There's no denying that something needs to be done. We've got 30 days to figure something out. I don't know, you know, work fast. Gone are the days where you're going to take 18 months to figure something out. You got to figure stuff out fast, right? That's how Trump works. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm interested to know in whether people think that fentanyl is a weapon created to kill people. Could this be part of the depopulation idea, you know, because if you're sick and depressed and have all these, you know, issues we generally offer people made here, you can have fentanyl that'll kill you. You can have, you know, that will kill you. You know, it's like we're really on this very anti-human killing agenda. And do you think that fentanyl is just another part of it? They know that it's killing people and that's the idea? Or do you think these are like mistakes in chemistry? Like, tell me what you think. And also tell me what you think about the border. Yes, we need to step it up. 30 days, what do you think is going to get done? Who should be the border czar? I'll read the comments in another video then, because I love hearing from you guys. And the US has to step up their game, and it sounds like they are. Absolutely. They absolutely are. And boy, oh boy, Canada, you have to stop being a wet noodle. We got to step it up too. Thank you for watching this video today. Please, if you like this video, got some value from it, click like, subscribe. It is awesome for us because like it helps a small YouTuber grow. It costs you nothing, but it helps us a lot. So if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I would love it. And thank you guys for watching this video. We'll catch you in